Some candidates in a pickle last night, but now we finally got some results. Lance Turner from Arkansas Business joins us now. Lance, let's get right to it. A lot to talk about this morning.
That's right. Yeah, first we're going to talk about the race for governor, and we'll see those results here in just a moment. And that ended up just about where everybody, I think, expected it to be. Sarah Huckabee Sanders with 83% of the vote, with 98% of precincts in, virtually everything counted, easily beating out her challenger, Doc Washburn, challenging her from the right. But really, she was well-financed, all the money and resources in the world to run this campaign. A Donald Trump endorsement last night in her acceptance speech, really showing humor, emotion even. I think got a little choked up about kind of what lies ahead for her, talking about education, pro-life issues, all of these themes that are starting to emerge that we're going to hear a lot about in the race for the general election here in the fall. She will face, of course, Chris Jones, who won his primary, his Democratic primary for the governor's office with 70% of that vote, beating out a pretty big field himself. He called out his underdog status in his speech last night. They are not as well financed as Sarah Huckabee Sanders, but who could be really, and talked about his PB&J philosophy, preschool education, broadband internet, and jobs. Education looks to be a big theme of the general election coming up in the fall, and this sets up an historic match of candidates. I mean, you'll either have the first woman governor or you'll have the first African-American governor of Arkansas. So pretty big race ahead of us.
Pretty incredible to see, too. Now, we talked about surprises. Were we going to see any surprises? We were wondering a lot if when we were going to go into a runoff or anything like that. I mean, it was a big conversation yesterday.
Big conversation, particularly in this lieutenant governor's race, but this six-person field, and we've got the top three here. Leslie Rutledge finishing above that 50% plus one vote threshold that she needed to avoid a runoff. 54% of the vote. Jason Rapert was number 2 in that race at 15%. Greg Bledsoe, the state surgeon general, 10%. She's a statewide name. That helped her certainly. It was just that the breadth of the field, the number of people in that race, really led you to believe that if there was going to be a runoff, it was likely to be in that one. So she's also running an historic campaign, looking to be the first woman lieutenant governor. She was also already the first woman attorney general, and so looking to break another glass ceiling here.
Yeah, no surprise on that nomination, but at the same time, too, they had to be thrilled not to be dealing with a runoff.
That's right. Everybody breathing a sigh of relief, because that's just another several weeks of campaigning and more money that you've got to spend. So that
you can't spend
that's
later,
right.
That you need to earn. The GOP race for U.S. Senate. John Boozman, the incumbent, of course, pulled in more than 50%, but this one came as a bit of a surprise. I think people expected Jake Beckett to do a little better.
Just because of the amount of money that was getting poured into that campaign and just I think the tone of those ads, I think there was a suspicion that perhaps the Boozman campaign was seeing numbers that maybe it didn't like and was afraid it could be closer. In the end, it was not close at all, 58% for John Boozman. So he's feeling good this morning, and will face Natalie James, the Democrat, in the general election in the fall.
Well, you saw that onslaught of ad campaigns by Boozman, too. You had the backing of Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the backing of Donald Trump, the backing of Tom Cotton. So, again, Boozman, maybe not surprised that he won, but by those numbers, kind of surprising.
That's right. Yeah, feeling good this morning for sure.
There you go.
Thank you, Lance. Still ahead, we're following one of the closest races this morning. Just over 100 votes separate the top 2 candidates. We'll examine a closer look in 7 minutes.